Preserving food is like bottling up a taste of yesterday for a delicious tomorrow. And this video is all about it. As I sit on my pumpkin, I am sitting on a pumpkin. Can't believe I grew this pumpkin so big that I can sit on it. Magnificent. The more I grow, the more I'm finding ways to preserve the taste and abundance of my harvests. And I found that preservation is actually elevating my produce to new taste levels. And it makes it last for ages. After all, we all want to save on food waste, and who can resist the allure of a homemade jar of goodness? First up, cucumbers. Now we all love dill pickles, don't we? But these are fermented dill pickles. Wow. That's phenomenal. I was kind of a bit squeamish, to be honest with you. But that tastes absolutely mind-blowing. Now this isn't a new thing. In many Eastern European countries, fermenting cucumbers is a social family event and has been done and enjoyed for years and years. I am absolutely blown away by the abundance of these cucumbers. I've already been picking loads and eating them day to day, but we've got 4 juicy cucumbers already for my dill pickles. Look at the size on this chunky monkey. Absolute girth on it, thick. I'm not even going to cut my gigantic pickles. I've got this huge vessel that I'm going to get them in whole. I'll save a couple and I'll slice them so you can do the same at home. But first I'll just prep these by scraping off any of the prickly bits and just trimming off the ends. Now lacto-fermentation is just a natural process where good bacteria found on the skin of fruits and vegetables called lactobacilli converts the sugar that's locked within these cucumbers and turns it into lactic acid. Now this acid that's going to be produced during the fermentation is going to give the cucumbers their tangy, vinegary taste. And this method offers pickles that are probiotic rich, promoting your gut health and enhancing the natural flavour. All you have to do is pop your cucumbers in a jar with your flavourings. I'm of course adding some dill flowers, some garlic and pickling spices. Then pour over a spring water brine. To make the brine, just add 4% of the water's weight in salt and whisk it until it's dissolved. Pour the brine over the cucumbers, making sure everything has been completely submerged. Now we got our weights. Because these have already started floating up, we need to keep them under the brine, otherwise mold will form. And you could just use a pebble or something, just something clean. This handy jar comes with some weights. Pop the jar on your shelf to ferment for 1 to 2 weeks or until it's reached the level of sourness that you like. Then the pickles will store in the fridge for several weeks. It's an amazing way of preserving. The texture is really surprising. The salt water is obviously almost cooked and broken down this cucumber, and it's got a lovely juicy texture. So it's no longer crisp in the center, it's very soft and succulent. A lovely tang of that fermentation. That is amazing. Oh wow. There's nothing better than the juicy blackberry when they come into season late summer. Now my mum and I always pick blackberries together. It's a lovely little tradition we have, and so often I'll just freeze the blackberries to last me months and months and months depending on how many I've managed to pick. But also I'll make things like jam and crumbles and whatnot, but I want to make something savoury with blackberries. So I thought they are very tangy. They got a nice little sour note to them depending on which variety you get and how ripe they are. So why not try and make a blackberry barbecue sauce? And it turned out spectacular. So to make this blackberry barbecue sauce, get an onion, some garlic and a chilli. Chop them up roughly and get them sweating down slowly in a saucepan. You want to let them release all the sweetness that's locked within inside them. Nice and chunky. It's going to be very chunky, this ketchup. Then I'm going to add some spices. I'm actually using whole spices because I want that running through this barbecue sauce beautifully. So I'm going to add some mustard seeds, some fennel seeds, cumin seeds, plus some ground coriander and some smoked paprika. Now let those spices cook for a little while. You want to toast them and let them release their aromatic flavors. I'll also season with some celery salt, then for some umami, a dollop of tomato paste and miso paste. All right, this needs some herbs. I reckon some fresh sage from the garden and some thyme too. And then we're gonna add the blackberries. All right, let's drain off our blackberries. These are just jewels. Look how beautiful they are. So to help preserve this sauce, I need to add some sugar and white wine vinegar. Also, that acidity is what every barbecue sauce needs. Throw in a couple bay leaves and a star anise, then get the lid on and let the sauce bubble away for about 20 minutes. All right, Mother, 2 jars, one for you.
Oh my God.
One for me. You can put it on. You could bake some mushrooms or grill some mushrooms and spread this on, or you can just use it as a dip for your lovely chips.
Oh, that's great. And you put it for Mum.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for picking them for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy, love.
Thank you, Lilo. I'll take that home and eat it all.
I feel like I've been eating tomatoes wrong my whole life after discovering lacto-fermented tomatoes, similar to the cucumber pickle or fermented recipe I showed you earlier, but even simpler, just 2 ingredients to make these lacto-fermented tomatoes, and it transforms the already sweet tomatoes into the most tangy, vibrant, savory, umami rich tomatoes you will ever eat, and they can be used for all sorts. Here's the recipe and then I'll show you how I like to serve them. Today all I'm doing is simply serving them on top of some hummus with some toasted bread because I want to let the flavour of those fermented tomatoes shine. But just to give you a few little tips on what you can do, you can actually turn these into salsa, you can run them through pasta or gnocchi, you can put them in sandwiches, or you're just going to want to eat these on their own, and the juice and the liquid is so tangy in dressings and everything like that. It's incredible. They last for months in the fridge too. Just make sure everything that's in the jar is always below the brine, so that's why we use the weight. I would say it's like tomatoes on steroids. Seriously, it's nuts how tangy they've become. I'm gonna have to make a lot of these because I want this flavour of my tomatoes to last me all year round. But a good way of also preserving tomatoes, and it actually works brilliant on this dish because it adds a new texture and taste, is drying. There's nothing better than a dried tomato because these actually taste to me a little bit like dried mango. Let me show you how easy it is to dry your own tomatoes. All you need to do is gather your juicy ripe tomatoes, slice them around 3 mil thick, and place them into a low temperature oven, something around 50 to 60 degrees Celsius, or even better, a dehydrator. In my dehydrator, I leave them in there for around 12 hours, but as soon as they're dry enough to snap like a crisp, then they're ready. Store them in a sterilized jar for up to 6 months or maybe even longer. Drying is obviously an incredible way of preserving and intensifying flavour. My neighbour has some incredible fruit trees, and recently I went and picked some of her plums. And then it clicked in my head, of course, prunes are made from plums. So I simply threw a load of the picked plums into my dehydrator and dried them overnight. I think actually it took about a couple of days to dry them completely, and made my homemade prunes, and they taste delicious. It just makes me realise how proud I am that I'm slowly becoming more and more self-sufficient, because, you know, I wouldn't think about making prunes before. I'd always go and get them from the supermarkets, but all you have to do is pop them on a tray and put them in the dehydrator, and you can make an abundance of them. Now, as I mentioned, drying doesn't have to be that complicated. You don't always need an oven or a dehydrator. I love to hang my herbs around the house upside down. They look absolutely beautiful in the house, and also they'll dry out over time. This is how I'm drying my basil at the moment. Now, I grow a lot of greens simply because they're so prolific growers. You just need a few plants, and before you know it, you have tons of chard or kale and things like that. That's why I really encourage you guys, even if you just have a windowsill, just grow one kale plant or one chard plant. It will feed you. It's really prolific. But a good way of preserving it is just to steam it and freeze it. I do mine in blocks, and I keep them in a bag in the freezer, and I can add them to stews and curries all winter long. But to take it to the next level, we can take some influence from Korea, and obviously they make kimchi, and they have done for thousands of years, and it's one of my favorite ways of preserving food. The fermentation process creates an environment where bad bacteria can't thrive, making kimchi not only tasty, but a great way of preserving food. So I'm going to show you how I take influence from kimchi and make a beautiful greens kimchi using all of the greens from my garden. So I picked a load of greens, a couple of different varieties of kale, some cabbage and some chard. I'm also going to pick some of my carrots too to get in there. Plus I'll grab some onions and I'll get some garlic too. That was a lovely harvest. What I'm going to do, I think, is shred everything up really fine, including the onions and the garlic and the carrot, plus those carrot tops because they're really tasty. I've also got some apple as well, which is going to add some sweetness, plus some ginger. You have to have ginger in this kimchi style preserve. Plus I've got some Korean chili flakes, but if you don't have these at home, you just use whatever chili flakes you can get your hands on. Once I've added everything to a mixing bowl, I'm going to weigh it, and I'm going to work out what 2% of that weight is in sea salt. All right, so we have 2.47 kg of stuff here. So let's work out what 2% is and then add that amount in salt. That is 50 grams. All right, so the salt goes in now, massage it up. I'm also going to add some of the Korean chili flakes at this point too, but I'm going to do that by eye because it's easy to add too much and then it becomes too spicy. Oh, let's just get them in. I'm not worried. If it's spicy, it's spicy. That's what it's all about. So I'm really massaging this in, you know, getting some strength in there, because I want this to break down and we want to get loads of liquid out of this. So just keep on squeezing and pressing, get your frustration out. All right, so I'm going to let this sit aside now with a cloth over the top for all those juices to come out, for all those flavors to get to know one another, and leave it then to sit for around about half an hour before getting it into some sterilized jars and using some nori sheets just to cover over the top of it. I'll also use a weight to just weigh everything down. I'll seal the jars and let them ferment for around 5 to 7 days. It all depends on how warm it is in my house though, before getting it into my fridge and enjoying it at my leisure. Gosh, there's so many recipes in today's video for you. I hope you're going to try these recipes, at least one of them. Don't forget the full written recipes are on my website, and Also, if you do recreate them, tag me on Instagram. But I've got one more for you, plus some exciting news to share with you after the recipe. More basil right now. A great way of preserving it is in oil. Basil. My aromatic kitchen companion. Out of all the herbs, basil reigns supreme for me in my heart and my taste buds. The vibrant green leaves and deep fragrance bring any dish to life, but in the midst of winter in Wales, I long for this beautiful herb. So this year, in the height of its ripeness, I'm going to preserve it by packing it into a jar with some salt. Alternate between the basil and the salt until you fill the jar, then pour over some extra virgin olive oil. I let it infuse for around 3 to 4 weeks out of the fridge, then get it into the fridge and it will store for up to a year. And now in the depths of cold, moody Welsh winter, I can draw from my favourite herb and be transported back to the greenhouse in warmer times. Oh, I've just noticed that a load of my chilies and peppers are starting to ripen up. So if you want a preservation technique, basically fermented hot sauce that I could, like you can bottle up, I'll bottle up, maybe I can send some to you guys. Anyway, if you want that video, comment below. I just need to know you're interested before we make it. But right now, we've saved the most exciting bit till last. Cut a long story short, I'm about to have a load of building work done to my house. My dream kitchen, after 3 years planning, is finally going to be starting to be built. And it means I have to pick my pumpkins relatively early, but there's no need to worry. Pumpkins, if you cure them, which basically means sitting them somewhere warm like in the greenhouse for about a week, they'll develop a thick skin and then they will last for like 6 to 8 months. So I don't mind picking these now. Look how big this one is. This is ginormous. Oh, it's so heavy, guys. I can't believe I'm harvesting this. Oh my God, that's like a deadlift. Jeez, that is so heavy. That's got to be, obviously I go to the gym so I know my weights. That's got to be 25 kg, I would say. That's about 50 pounds. Whoa, look at that baby. So I'm going to pop this in the greenhouse now, let the skin thicken, let it harden off. It'll cure basically. And then once it's cured and it's got that thick skin, I'll just put it in my shed or somewhere with a sort of constant temperature. That's just under room temperature more or less. And it'll last for about 6 months, something like that. And I can't believe it, I'm so proud. That's the biggest pumpkin I've ever grown. And I've got a few of them. Guys, thank you for spending the time with me again. And please share the video, please like it if you did like it, and please comment, because all those little things really help push and promote the videos to a wider audience. And I just want to inspire people to cook and grow peaceful, plants-only cookery and just enjoy the beauty of growing and cooking, because that's what life's all about for me, and I want to spread that awareness. So thank you so much. Your support means the world to me. I'll see you soon. Gonna harvest the rest of these. It's a hard work. It's been just over 3 years since I released my last cookbook, Plants Only Kitchen. It's been a while since I made a new cookbook, and the reason is because I've been going through some huge lifestyle changes. I've been learning a lot about myself and finding some new hobbies, such as moving to the country and learning to grow my own food. And that will sure be the topic of my next cookbook, I hope, if I'm lucky enough to get a new book deal. We'll see. But I just wanted to bring your attention back to this book, Plants Only Kitchen, because it's a book that I am still so proud of. It's not necessarily the same sort of style of cooking that I do day to day now, but it is super delicious meals. They're simple meals, and that's why I made this book. So I wanted to show people that plants only cooking can be really simple too. They're also protein packed meals too, because I love my working out and I love my gym. I still do to this day, and I still do cook recipes from this book. So I just wanted to let you know that if you want to get a copy, I'm doing a discount on my website for actually signed copies. My mum is amazing. She will send them to you wherever you are in the world, and that's the best way to support the channel and everything that we do is getting them through my website rather than, you know, other Amazons and things like that. So if you want to support, this is the best way to support, and if you do, I really, really do appreciate it. It means we can continue to make epic videos on YouTube and content on social media. And if you've already got copies of my cookbooks and you bought them from the website, thank you so much. I hope they're serving you well in the kitchens. It means the world when I see you sharing images on social media of recipes that you've made from the book. And if you want to get a copy, you really want to support the channel, then you can use code GAZ10 Plants Only Kitchen, GAZ10 Plants Only Kitchen for 10% off my website, and that's the best place to get it from to really support, and you get a signed copy and my mum sends it to you.